Hi, hello, welcome to my fashion channel. It's always a pleasure to have you here. For those who have subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing, and for those who are yet to subscribe, you don't want to miss out on what this channel is going to bring your way. So I have a passion for sewing, I have a passion for fashion, and this is what I'm going to be bringing to your homes through my channel. So today what I want to cut is a peplum. I've done a tutorial previously on how to cut with flare, and today I'm going to do a similar video, not how to cut just an ordinary flare, although I talked about 720 flare, 1440 flare, but I got a special request to also make this video, so I want to do that today. I'm going to show you how to cut and achieve 720 or 1440 degrees flare. So it's really simple if you can follow the technique, and you need to watch this video to the end. So don't forget, you need to subscribe, you need to like my videos so I can keep producing or making more videos, so we can all learn and rub minds. So let's get into cutting and today's tutorial. So for you to start, before you start cutting your flare for your top, it's important that first you get your bodice. So you need to have your bodice already cut, and once you've cut that, now you're going to determine the length of your top. So if your top was like 20 inches long, you need to measure the half length, like what I have here. Your bodice already cut, and the half length is about 10.5. So if I want 20, I need to add 9.5. But to that 9.5 flare, you need to remember half an inch sewing allowance goes into the top, half an inch goes into the bottom, and you still need to fold the bottom of your flare. So in that case, you would need to add extra at least 1.5 inches. So you need to take note of that. So you must have had your bodice before we start cutting. So now this is the bodice. I'm going to put this aside, but before I do, we need to measure the circumference of the waist, and this is about 24. So what we need, this is 12 for the front side, and the back will be another 12. So 24 inches wide flare for the peplum. And you should also remember, you don't need to cut exactly 24. You need to put into consideration your seam allowance. So instead of 24, you want to have like 26. So whatever we're going to be cutting is taking into consideration that we need 26 inches circumference for our flare. So to cut the flare, you need to get the fabric, and your fabric needs to be wide enough. So I'm going to fold this into 4, first into 2, then into 4. So we get the square. That's what we need to be able to get a 720 flare. You know, normally if you want to cut your 360, you will just fold into 4, and you're going to get your 24 inches or 26 inches circumference on one flare, on one fold. But in this case, it's going to be different, because you need to get, if you want to make a 720, that means you need to have one 360 in front and that 360 at the back, on the back piece. That means I'm going to divide my waist by 2. So 26 inches divided by 2 gives us 13 inches. So that means what I need here on this fold, on this square fold, is 13 inches. So how do we get that? Before we know where to start measuring from, I'll just take my tape to go around. And when I do this, I get about 4 inches times 4 gives me 16. So that's a bit too much. So let's try to just make it shorter, where we get our flare from. So I'm going to do 2 inches from the pointed part of my fold. I'm just going to do 2 inches. Okay, so that is, I want to measure that to see if that is going to give me 13 inches when multiplied by 4. So I'm turning my tape, and when I check that, I have a little above 13 inches. So I'm going to reduce this again. So I think that will do. So I'm going to cut. Okay, so you can, after cutting, you want to check your measurement again to make sure the what you cut will be able to go around the waist. So what I have is 3 times 4, that is 12. So what I just need is just a little bit more to make it 13. So don't be afraid to keep trying. You just keep, you don't want it too wide and you don't want it too small. Okay, so there I have it. That will be fine. So I haven't gotten this. What I want to do now is to ascertain to get the length of my top. So on this, I'm going to do 6.5. Just do what you need. You know, initially I was talking about in case you wanted length of a top, you need to subtract the flare from the half cut. And when you add them together, it's supposed to give you your full measurement. So this is just an hypothetical case. I'm not making an actual fabric dress, but I'm just trying to show you what you are going to obtain. So 6.5 is what I did. So I'm cutting round the bottom of my fold. So if I open this up, this is what I have, and I'm going to still open it up at the side. So this is a 360 flare, but this 360 is going to be just for the front piece. So if you get your top and you place this all around, the whole 360 goes into your top, just like that. So by the time you have one 360 in front, one 360 at the back, already is 720 flare. And you can notice how full the flare looks already. So you want to cut 2 pieces of this, one for the front, one for the back. And that is how you achieve your 720 degrees flare. Now, if we want to do 1440, what we need to do is to divide our waist this time by 4. So if your waist circumference was 26, so now you're going to do 26 divided by 4, and that would be about 20, that's about 6 is 24. 26 now becomes 24 divided by 4 gives us 6. 26 divided by 4 gives us 6.5. So each flare has to have the circumference of 6.5. That means in the front piece we're going to have 2 flares, two 360 flares, because if you multiply 360 by 4, you're going to get 1440. So that means you need 4 pieces of flare to give you your total 1440 degree flare. It's simple maths. If you cannot do the maths, you know, like I did, you can just get a calculator and you do your mathematics. I remember in school then we were always told that you can't run away from maths. And lo, yeah, it's true. You can't run away from maths. So now let me try to cut 2 different flares. I'm going to cut 2 different 360 flares. Okay, so the 2 different 360 will be for my front piece. Then I will cut 2 360 again for the back piece. So I have my square. Okay, this is 1 square. It's folded into 4. So we're going to get the waist circumference. Now what we need is 6. You know, initially we needed 13 because we're doing 1 flare, 1 360 for the front, 1 360 for the back. Now we're going to do 2 360 for the front and 2 360 for the back. So what we need on each flare is a waist circumference of 6.5 inches. So 2 6.5 inches is going to give us 13. But another thing you want to also know is that you need to increase your sewing allowance. Before we just added extra 2 inches, but because you're going to stitch the 2 flares in front together, you want to make allowance for that ½ inch seam. That's 1 inch, half this way, half that way. So instead of cutting 6.5 in front, you want to cut 7 inches. By the time you stitch it together, it's going to go back to 6.5. So I have done a curve there. Let me see what I have. We need 7. This is 1.5 times 4. It gives us 6 inches. So I'm going to increase that a little because I need 7 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut. Okay, now get your tape, check the measurement again. I'm going to check it. And I have 2 inches. It's a bit bigger. That's 8 inches, but it's fine. We can always trim the sides. Okay, so now I'm going to get the length. You get the length of your peplum. So you want to fold enough fabric to be okay to accommodate the length you desire. So I'm going to cut that around the flare. Okay, and now I'm going to open this up. So you're going to notice how full this is, but this is just one piece for one side of the front. We need two pieces to make the front flare. So all I'll need to do is to fold this back and cut another piece this size so that I can achieve 720 flare for the front of my bodice. So I'm going to fold once again, just like I did earlier, into 4. So I'm just going to use this as a pattern. I'm going to place over this, cutting exactly the same circumference of the flare, the same length of the flare, because you're going to stitch these two together to give you a 720 flare. So I'm cutting. Okay, so I've cut. So I'm going to open this up again, just like I did the other piece. So once I open this up, I have 2 flares. So all I will need to do is to stitch them together. So I'll just get a pin to show you. Ordinarily, if it's a fabric and you're using the sewing machine, all you need to do is to run your stitches that way. But I'm going to get a pin, and I'm just going to pin 1/2 inch. Okay, 1/2 inch all the way to the top, and 1/2 inch. So when you open this up, this is the kind of flare you get. It's really bouncy and full, a very full flare. You can notice that. So all this goes into your front piece, so it makes your flare really full. And imagine after making this kind of full peplum, you now add your crinoline or your horse hair to this. Is going to be really coily. So now, once you've done this, you need to cut another set like this for the back piece. What you want to do now is to stitch this to your top. So you just get your top and you put this over, and there you have it. You have your peplum, very full bouncy peplum top. So you can see how full this looks. So you can just get a pin. Let's pin it and see what it creates, the effect that we can get from doing this. So you see, to make your full flare is all about the calculations. You need to divide your measurement, and you add, and you may need to also subtract. Like the excess at the side, you can trim off. So when you cut, try to make it, because it's paper, it's not as relaxed as it should be, but I believe you can still get the concept of getting a very full flare. So I'm just going to pin. So if it's your sewing machine, all you need to do is stitch with your sewing machine on. Okay, you just stitch. So when you stitch, you have your flare looking that gorgeous. Okay, so there you have it, 720 in front, 720 behind. So what you're going to get is 1440 degree flare.